Okay, good afternoon, Bapak Ibu. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the Kelas Kreatif Teaching Conference 2021. Make English Learning Fun. So, it's a pleasure for me, Trisnendri Syahrizal, to lead this is amazing event that held by Komunitas Pendidik Kelas Kreatif Indonesia. I hope everybody here in the very good conditions and ready to learn from amazing presenters that we have in today's seminar. So, excuse me. Yeah, for today, we're going to have fun activities with a lot of speakers from very interesting background that may lead us to more engaging, fun, and interesting classroom activity later on for our teaching practice in our school. So Bapak Ibu semua, so this is an honor again to have everybody here with amazing background, a yellow engaging background we have all together here. And I will also would like to welcome Mr. Spencer to our first conference held by Kelas Kreatif. How are you, Mr. Spencer?
Fine, thank you.
Yeah, it's so happy to have you here. So, ladies and gentlemen, so today we're gonna have a very interesting topic to discuss together: how to make and creating a fun English learning. Of course, here we have two sessions. The first sessions we have a panel sessions that would be delivered by Mr. Spencer Edward. So this is the question that I want to ask. How can I pronounce your last name, sir?
It's Lemaich.
Ah, that's hard. Okay, Lemaich. Is that
Perfect.
okay? Lemaich. Okay. Please, if later on I mispronounce that, so I'm afraid that I mispronounced it. So I think Spencer will be just enough, right? All
Fine.
right. Thank you very much. So, Mr. Spencer, thank you very much for taking part of this conference. And of course, beside Mr. Spencer, we also have another eight speakers that will be shared or will be shared their experience in eight different breakout rooms. So here we have Ibu Yuke. Hello, Ibu Yuke. And then we have Pak Dani. Hello, Pak Dani. We have
Hello.
Pak Edi also. Hello, Pak Edi.
Hello.
Yes. We also have Ibu Nina. Hello, Ibu Nina. Ibu Nina
Hello,
Dewi.
hello.
Hello, Ibu Nina.
Hello.
All
Good
right. So good
afternoon.
afternoon. Thank you very much.
You're
And then we
welcome.
also have Pak Sandi. Pak Sandi,
Hello.
yes. Hello, Pak
Hello.
Sandi. All right. And then we also have Ibu Hesti. Hello, Ibu Hesti.
Yeah, good
Yes,
afternoon,
Ibu
everyone.
Hesti. Hello, good afternoon. And then we also have Ibu Hapsari. Hello, Ibu
Hello,
Hapsari.
everyone. Hello.
Hi. And then the last but not least, we also have Ibu Irma. Hello, Ibu Irma.
Hello, good afternoon,
Yeah, good
everyone.
afternoon. So it's going to be an epic performance from our ninth speaker. I think that, of course, that everyone here can wait to get something and absorb something from all the speaker. Before we begin, I would like to remind to all eight parallel speakers to raise your hand. So then your screen will be in the top 10 list on participant screen. So no, just put a use a raise hand applications in your Zoom. So then you will be on the top 10 list. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So then everyone can spotlight all parallel speakers. That will be very amazing. All right, so before also continue, I would like to remind everyone here that if you wish to have a certificate, if you need a certificate, the information is shared in the chat box. So please go to the link, and then there are some contributions that you need to pay. But then it's for those who really need the certificate, you may go to the link to fill up all the link. And then also another informations that very make this session fun is at the end Pak Dadan and team from Kelas Kreatif will share a door prize for lucky participants. The questions is how to get the door prize is very simple. Please go to the Instagram, check the account of Kelas Kreatif, and then find the poster of today's conference or the speakers, right? And then give your best comments. All right, so let me say it again. So if you want to win the door prize, what you have to do is go to Instagram, find Kelas Kreatif Indonesia account, and then find the posters of today's conference, and then put a comment there. The best comment will be priced with a very interesting prize from Pak Dadan, of course, and for Kelas Kreatif team. Okay, so there's also the link in the chat box for everyone who really want to check that Instagram. And then later on, before moving on to our first speaker, Mr. Spenser, I think Mr. Spenser also already can wait to share a very interesting topic, but we have to hold it a little bit because the first performance, let's say, the first presenter will be from Ibu Isry Laila Syathroh from Kelas Kreatif Management. She will introduce us who and what is Kelas Kreatif, what we've been doing, and what we wish to contribute to our society. So, Ibu Isry, the microphone is yours.
All right. Thank you, Patrice. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. Let me share screen. Okay. Can you see the slide?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Isry Laila Syathroh, and then I am part of the Kelas Kreatif Management together with Pak Tris, Pak Belvin, and some others here. And then here I would like to introduce you to Kelas Kreatif, and then I hope that someday you can be interested, and then you can be together with us to connect, learn, share, collaborate, inspire, and also empower each other. Okay. Wait. End of the slide then. This is the profile of Komunitas Pendidik Kelas Kreatif Indonesia, and then the name used to be Kelas Kreatif, but then several years ago, it was changed into Komunitas Pendidik Kelas Kreatif Indonesia. It is sebuah personal learning community or PLC yang anggotanya merupakan guru-guru, dosen, dan juga pemerhati pendidikan. Kita bisa lihat di sini in 2008 namanya adalah Education Development Project. Lalu pada tahun 2018 namanya berubah menjadi Kelas Kreatif, dan setahun yang lalu tepatnya namanya berubah menjadi Komunitas Pendidik Kelas Kreatif Indonesia. Lalu apa saja yang kami sediakan di Kelas Kreatif? Tentu saja berdasarkan visi misi. Ya, visi misi di sini adalah salah satunya menyediakan sebuah sarana pengembangan profesional secara informal, berbasis kolaborasi untuk edukator, saling berbagi, berdiskusi, belajar, dan juga berkembang bersama. Nantinya diharapkan para individu, baik itu dosen maupun guru dan juga pendidik lainnya yang terlibat dalam komunitas ini, kelak menjadi lifelong learner yang melakukan refleksi terhadap praktek mengajar masing-masing, kemudian melakukan riset terhadap teori, strategi, dan juga metode pembelajaran yang kreatif, inovatif, dan juga interaktif, lalu mengimplementasikannya di kelas, dan akhirnya menghasilkan sebuah kelas yang menginspirasi bagi para siswa. Nah, ini adalah kami di tim manajemen, ada saya sendiri, Kemudian ada Ibu Ati Herawati, ada Pak Asep Dede, Pak Trisnendri, Bu Nisa, dan juga Pak Dadan, Pak Belvin, Bu Pipit, Bu Tintin, Shirley, dan juga Ibu Shirley. Ya, semuanya adalah para guru dan juga para dosen yang tersebar ada di seluruh Indonesia. Kemudian ada beberapa kegiatan atau activities yang sudah kami lakukan. Yang paling terbaru yang kami lakukan adalah public speaking conference. Ya. Kemudian ada juga pembuatan buku, ya. Salah satunya adalah 105 Digital Tools dan juga kelas ahli berbagi. Kemudian ada Postcard from the World, ada Critical Thinking in ELT, ini merupakan international webinar, dan juga ada kelas membuat media ajar visual. Nah, untuk kegiatan public speaking, kita pernah melakukan sekitar 4 kali kelas public speaking. Kita menghadirkan berbagai jenis pembicara dari berbagai instansi, seperti ada Kang Joy, ya, kemudian ada Pak Trisnendri juga yang juga ahli public speaking, kemudian ada beberapa announcer dan juga Kang Idvi juga pernah kita undang dalam kegiatan public speaking kita. Nah, kemudian kegiatan menulis. Untuk kegiatan menulis, kurang lebih kita telah menghasilkan 10 buku. 10 buku yaitu di kelas kreatif, kelas inspiratif, kemudian ada kelas digital. Kemudian pada event 17 Agustus setahun yang lalu kita membuat buku, ya, seluruh komunitas atau pendidik yang ada di komunitas kita berkontribusi untuk membuat salah satu artikel di dalamnya, kemudian kita share secara gratis bersamaan dengan kegiatan 17 Agustus. Kemudian juga kita membuat buku yang berjudul Membaca Itu Seru, kemudian mengajar dengan cara kreatif melalui smartphone, kemudian ada 105 Digital Tools for Interactive Learning, kemudian ada Digital Tools for Assessment, dan juga 2 buku lainnya, diantaranya adalah Merdeka Belajar Itu Asik. Semua buku ini dapat diakses di folder kami. Ya. Kemudian kegiatan professional development. Kita pernah bekerja sama dengan PSSDM, kemudian kita juga pernah bekerja sama dengan beberapa instansi lainnya, melakukan diskusi interaktif mengenai becoming world class educator, kemudian maximizing digital tools in ELT, dan juga mind mapping for educators. Nah, untuk kegiatan partnership, ya, kita tidak hanya melakukan kegiatan di komunitas kami sendiri, tapi kita juga melakukan kegiatan bersama instansi lainnya. Salah satunya dengan Telkom University, kemudian dengan Digpro, ya, kemudian PSSDM, itu hampir setiap bulannya kita melakukan kegiatan bersama, kemudian dengan TBI, dan juga dengan kampus-kampus atau instansi lainnya. Nah, karena kebanyakan anggota kita adalah para bapak-bapak dan ibu-ibu, tapi tidak terlepas juga ada yang masih single, ya. Jadi kita juga memberikan atau mengakomodasi anak-anak dari pendidik yang ada di sini. Kita mengadakan beberapa kegiatan seperti Postcard from the World, ya, kemudian Explore A to Z, kemudian membuat game berbasis Android, kemudian teknik kelas gambar, dan juga kelas menulis cita-citaku. Ya, semuanya itu dipersembahkan secara gratis bagi semua siswa, termasuk siswa atau anak yang bukan anak dari pendidik yang ada di komunitas ini. Jadi terbuka lebar untuk siapapun sebetulnya yang tertarik, ya. Kemudian kita juga mengadakan webinar-webinar berbahasa Inggris, ya, seperti Critical Thinking ELT, kemudian yang kerjasama dengan TBI, Teaching English to Young Learners, ya, unboxing, descriptive paragraph with fine senses, dan juga beberapa kegiatan berbahasa Inggris lainnya. Ya, jadi biasanya kita dua bahasa, English dan bahasa Indonesia, tapi kalau khusus dalam webinar berbahasa Inggris ini semuanya full berbahasa Inggris dari awal sampai akhir. Nah, kemudian kita juga memiliki kelas seni, yaitu kelas media ajar visual, ya, karena seorang pendidik itu tidak hanya harus bisa mengajar saja, tapi harus bisa membuat bahan ajar, ya, di samping 5 perangkat pembelajaran lainnya. Makanya kita mengakomodir itu semua, ya. Pertama, kita membuat kelas, membuat bahan ajar itu gampang. Kemudian membuat bahan ajar seri 2 melalui digital, ya. Kemudian yang ketiga dan selanjutnya sampai ada 5 sesi, ya, untuk kelas membuat media ajar visual. Nah, oke, dan lain sebagainya. Ini juga kelas kelas Going English in Style, ya, yang berbahasa Inggris juga dan lain sebagainya. Jadi artinya di kita, ya, bahwa kelas kreatif itu memberikan berbagai jenis kegiatan yang diharapkan dapat mengakomodir semua kebutuhan guru selama mengajar, ya, tidak hanya dari sisi mengajarnya tapi juga sampai ke membuat bahan ajarnya. Mungkin itu saja Patris, ya, yang bisa saya sampaikan mengenai perkenalan komunitas pendidik kelas kreatif Indonesia. Tapi untuk update setiap kegiatan bisa dilihat di IG kami. Begitu ya Patris, ya.
Yes, Ibu Isry, thank you very much for the introductions. That was very brief, and I believe that every participants here already know about who Kelas Kreatif are. But then this is a must to reintroduce to everyone about who we are and then what we've been doing and then what exactly our purpose to share. And almost every month, if you are taking part of Kelas Kreatif members, so then you're aware that Kelas Kreatif always have an event in every month. So that's very interesting. So please stay with us and then let's learn together, of course, and then let's grow together to give a lot of benefits to our students and our community. So there's very interesting introductions. And of course, if later on anyone here haven't joined or wish to join with the Kelas Kreatif, please just go to our Instagram, give us a direct message, then our team will kindly check it. And of course, later on that you can be part of us, because there's no, there's very, you just join and then enjoy every events that we held, and then we can learn and share together. All right, so I think that was the introductions for Kelas Kreatif. So I think that everybody here can wait to learn how to make and absorb a lot of information, how to make a fun English class. Now we're moving on to the panel sessions. So we have Mr. Spenser here. Hello.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, it's a very loud and clear. To lead this, I also would like to invite Dadan. Hi, Dadan.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
So,
Good afternoon.
hi.
Hello,
Good
Patrick.
afternoon.
Hello.
All right,
Hello,
so
Spenser.
yeah. So now we already have 2 gentlemen here. I think this gentleman speaking is not well going off on the screen because these 2 gentlemen will be spotlight. All right. So thank you very much for leading this session, Dadan. So there will be 40 minutes for this session. So everybody enjoy the 4 sessions. Dadan, I handed you over the microphone.
Okay, thank you, Patrice. Hello, Spenser. Good afternoon.
Hi, great to be here.
Yeah, so I will be with you for the main room session. So thank you very much for coming and your willingness to share with us regarding facilitating fun learning in teaching English. So before we start, I would like to share a little bit information about you. So Bapak and Ibu, Spenser has taught English as a second language for 10 years in a variety setting, including K-12, university, and adult courses, working with international exam preparation, corporate classes, and English for academic purposes. He has been extensively involved in teacher training, conducting approximately 70 pre and in-service teacher training workshops and seminars at local, national, and international conferences, including an online webinar for the US State Department's American English program on communicative grammar teaching with an estimated live audience of 43,900 people in 69 countries. Wow, that's very impressive, yeah. He worked as director of studies at a private language schools for 2 years and taught TEFL methodology for 2 years at University Islam Negeri Banjarmasin. He currently works at an IB World School in Surabaya, teaching IGCSE exam preparation and IB TOK, with special interest in the role of culture in language learning and the role of critical thinking in promoting long-term retention of knowledge. So Bapak Ibu, we are very fortunate today. We have Mr. Spenser to share with us his knowledge and expertise. And the time is yours for the next 30 minutes. And then we have Q&A for 10 minutes. Mr. Spenser.
Great, thank you so much. Let me just share my screen first. And is that visible okay?
Yes, it's okay.
Great. So the topic that we're talking about today is making English fun. And my hope is to give you some categories of ways that you can adapt your class or adapt an activity to make it fun. And things I want to mention are, first we'll talk about what is fun, what does it actually mean, and then give some ideas for activities that you could do that fit with the categories. And I know that some of these categories will be a review for people who have been following the Kelas Kreatif sessions for a while, because even just looking at the title of the Kelas Kreatif sessions, I see the things about critical thinking and good speaking lessons and things like that. But I hope that from this session, you'll have a good framework in mind to evaluate, is this a good activity or can I make this a better activity? So kind of to give you categories to think about. And before we start, I just want to ask you first, what do you think is fun? Let me get this out of the way. There it is. Okay. What do you think is fun? Please tell me in the chat if you feel brave to contribute. What makes something fun in class? What makes an activity fun? What makes a class fun? What makes the teacher fun? What makes the environment fun? Anything like that. We've got an early answer here, says playing word games, fun when we are enjoying ourselves, something that makes us happy. Enjoy, happy to do something, being interested in the given topic. Okay, I like that definition. No pressure, when we can laugh, enjoy, engaging, comfort, fun is feeling engaged. Creativity, games, enjoyable vibes, humorous teacher, interactive class, two ways learning. All right. Thank you very much for all the ideas and contributions there. And of course, you'll see many similar ideas in the material that I want to share. I hope that it will reinforce for you, again, some categories that you can use to evaluate whether you want to use an activity or not. So I've sort of taken a little theme here, and I'll give a few aspects of fun. Maybe my disclaimer is that I will consider fun to be like engaging. Sometimes there's a fun activity, but students don't learn from it. I think we agree that we want our class to be fun, but we also want our students to learn something. So The different aspects that I'm going to mention about fun or engaging activities are all starting with the letter C today. So the first one to mention is that I think a fun lesson or a fun activity involves a lot of creativity from the students. So it gives them a chance to tell their own story, or to make something, or to share their own perspective, or to put words together in a personal way, because that's part of using language. Is like, it's a creative act. Someone said that you can start with a basic sentence, like 5 words. And then if you add an extra word, an extra word, an extra word, there's a high chance that that sentence you're making has never been said before, ever, by anyone in the world. The longer the sentence becomes, the more likely it is that no one has ever said that sentence before. So language is all about creativity and creating something. And that's what we want our students to be able to do. One quick little activity idea here related to creativity is a brainstorming game or activity. If you don't know it, I really recommend it. It's an online, very simple website that's very easy to use. It gives you categories, and it gives you a letter, and it gives you a timer, and you just press play. Students, if they're working in a team, can think of a word from each category that starts with the letter. The game is called Categories if you've used it before, and it works great if you're teaching online, because students can go into the breakout room and the teacher can share the screen to breakout rooms. The teacher can also set their own kinds of categories. Why do I consider this to be creativity? Because this kind of task is inviting students to reach back into their mind, what they already know. They don't have to learn something from the teacher, they have to share something from their own life. Okay, and another C of what I would say makes a fun lesson or a fun activity is communication. We hear a lot about this communicative language teaching, and I think everyone feels like we've heard that term so often. But what is real communication? There's a good way to do communicative activities and a way that is less effective. Real communication is sharing about yourself in a personal and a natural way with a real audience. If it can be as close as possible to how you would communicate in the real world, then it feels more communicative, if we have a spectrum of communicative or not. Just to share this little comic, there's a classroom and the teacher is discussing with his students. He starts with, "How about you, Carlos? How are you this evening?" And Carlos gets up the courage and the bravery to share something very personal. And he tries to put the words together and he says, "Not so good. My wife has left me yesterday." "Oh dear," says the teacher. "I thought you knew this. When you say the time, you need the simple past. My wife left me yesterday." Okay, it's a joke, right? But why? What's the point here that I'm trying to illustrate? The teacher here is not using real communication, because this teacher thinks that I speak and now my students speak and we did our job. My job is just to make the students speak, and I will speak and the students will speak and we're finished. But that's actually not real communication, because real communication responds to a real person. How would you respond to a real person who just had a horrible event happen in their life? You should say, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear it. Is there anything I can do to help you? I really hope that everything's going okay." But the teacher is stuck in fake communication, only communicating for the purpose of class, not communicating to know this student. So a lot of people mentioned in the chat earlier that feeling enjoyable or happy or comfortable in the class is something that is fun. And I would add that the teacher caring about the students really adds a lot to making the class enjoyable. So communication is another thing. And if we're looking for a resource that can lead to real communication or authentic communication, of course, there's the idea of using blogs in class. And if you're using a blog website like edublogs.org, the reason why it's highly recommended for communicative activity is because anyone can see it. So it's not just something you're doing just for your teacher, but you're doing it to communicate with the world if the blog is public, or with the other students in your class if the blog is private. In my classes, when we've been teaching online, I use a lot of Google Slides as a kind of mini blog. Why? Because it makes the writing more than just doing a task for a teacher. Anyone from the class can go and read what was written by anyone else in the class at exactly the time that they're writing it. So suddenly your writing, the students' writing becomes more meaningful for them. They're communicating with someone else in class. Of course, if the writing is very good, you can offer to open up access to that Google Slides to other classes or people outside of the class. So we've got some elements of creativity that we're looking for and elements of communication. And I just want to make one more point about communication. Even on something like the IELTS test, which is looking to see how well people can communicate, one of the criteria that they look for is if a student can paraphrase, like if they can talk around something that they don't know. So the point that I'm trying to make is with communication, it's actually linked back with creativity, telling something personal, having an attempt to share from yourself and to put your life and your thoughts into words and communicate your real self. And the thing that's more important is that you can communicate some kind of a message. Focus on the message, not focus on the language. You don't need exactly the perfect vocabulary, and the teacher doesn't need to exactly to correct the student all the time and tell them when they made a mistake all the time. They can focus on the message, and the student will be able to enjoy their communication more. So, creativity, communication, collaboration. I think we all know this as well because we're encouraged to create group style activities. But what makes successful collaboration, I would say, is working together to solve a problem or achieve a goal. So if you can set some kind of a goal or help students to recognize a problem that they can solve, it makes the collaboration more meaningful. I think we all know the experience when students go into a group, but one of the group members works much harder than the other members, and then suddenly it doesn't feel like group work anymore. It feels like one person doing all the work and everyone else just sitting there. The hope is that if you can find some kind of a task or a problem that one person needs the help of each other because of their background and their experience and their knowledge, that together they can find a better solution than what just one person could find. Collaboration. I've got another comic here. So the teacher is trying to get the students to practice a particular grammar form. I want you to think of a question with "have you ever" and ask it to your partner. The teacher thinks, well, I just want them to speak together. It's kind of back with this communication idea, but she wants them to work together. And the students don't look very motivated by that instruction. So then the question that the student comes up with is, have you ever wanted to ask a virtual stranger a question with "have you ever"? No, I haven't. Yeah, it's of course the artist's ironic criticism of the communicative method misapplied. Misapplied because, again, the focus is just on the form of students speaking to each other. It's not on the actual purpose of communication. So we said before, for the real communication, we want it to be as real or useful as possible. And now when we're looking at collaboration, we want it to be as meaningful of a solution, like a problem that they can work on together that has a reason to use the language. It's not really effective communicative method if we just tell the students what to do, because that's not real communication. It's just practicing what the teacher told us to practice. So the strongest way to get the students engaged is for them to so appreciate the problem that they naturally have a desire to use the language that will help them solve the problem. What's something that I've done before, or that I've been doing recently in my class, that I consider to be a collaborative task, is making a comic. Now, there's different ways to do this. The website that I've been using is called storyboardthat.com. If you get my notes later, you can find all the links to the websites and resources that I've shared. What I appreciate about this comic making website is that there's so much flexibility. You could, if you're practicing grammar or vocabulary, you could ask the students to make a story, tell a story that uses the language that you want to practice. Or maybe you want them to describe something from their life, but to represent it in a story form. They can choose a location that's in the scenes category. They can choose a person and add text and shapes and all kinds of different aspects to their comic. The way that we used it in my class this year was to look at literature, because we were studying a work of literature, The Lord of the Flies. And so different groups of students had to recreate different chapters from the books, mentioning the important events and representing the characters. And for me, it was very impressive to see how creative the students were. And when I visited, they were working in Zoom in the breakout room to make these projects. I was pleased to see how well they collaborated, because some students would have an idea like, let's make that student wearing this kind of costume. And another student would have an idea about what kind of objects to include. So there was a lot of natural discussion of how they could make a project. The ideal kind of collaboration is communicating in order to accomplish a goal. So moving along through our C's, we have competition. I love competition because it's just my personal style, but some teachers have complained when they hear me talking about competition. They say, well, we don't want the students to feel that they can't do well. Agreed. Our competition has to be a little bit controlled so that different students can still participate. For example, the one who gets it correct all the time doesn't necessarily need to lead the whole competition. The weaker ones can be invited to participate as well. I think that the benefit of competition is it can encourage students to do their best. And the emphasis is less on trying to show that some are not as good as others or are weaker in certain skills, but it's just this sense of, can I do better? Can I do better? And as long as students can get in that attitude, then they can enjoy competition. So very common style of competition, of course, is like a quiz game or a Jeopardy style game, and a very easy to use website for creating that kind of competition is Jeopardy Labs. If you've ever used it before, you can make all your own questions and categories. And the reason why I strongly appreciate and enjoy Jeopardy Labs is you can keep score while you're doing the game live. So if I'm using it on Zoom, then the students are divided into teams, and usually they would type their answers in the chat to score the points for their team. But of course, there's different ways to do it. And students seem to enjoy that kind of competition quite a bit. And then we can follow up that competitive activity with something more collaborative or personally creative to combine our C categories.
Excuse me, Spencer, you have 5 more minutes.
Okay. I put a quote here from a professor who I'll mention at the end, who is considered an expert in motivation in the language classroom. He says, long-term sustained learning cannot take place unless the educational context provides sufficient inspiration and enjoyment to build up continuing motivation in the learners. So inspiration might be doing something significant and meaningful, a project that you enjoy, and the enjoyment is, again, this kind of safe environment. Well, there's 2 more C's that I want to mention before we're done. Critical thinking is, for me, also fun. Really? Maybe you wonder, can critical thinking be fun too? But I have to say 100% yes, because if you have some kind of a challenge, it encourages you as a student that you can do more, you can be better, you can think better, you can accomplish more. So some kind of a challenge. And sometimes that challenge could just be as simple as having analysis being part of your game, like a grammar error identification game. I've recently went on an educational trip, they have to find the error. Or it might be a self-analysis style task where you're looking at a rubric of things that should be in your answer. This was a summary writing task, and the student had to identify the aspects from a task in their own writing. But I consider that analysis is equally motivating and engaging, because some students are very motivated by thinking. And finally, choices. Choices is a great way to make your classroom more fun, because the moment that a student makes a choice, they're investing in your lesson. It's not just you controlling the lesson anymore, but now they are controlling. And so it's a way that now they're saying, they're kind of committing to being involved. So I try to include choices as much as possible, even if it's a simple task, like in my Cambridge class, we have to do interviews with each other, but I always try to give them a choice, what kind of topic they want to respond to, so that the moment they make the choice, they feel connected and involved in the whole classroom process. So lots of things that we could say other than these 6 C's that I've identified. Defining objectives can make students more motivated. Having more variety could help, or being in a different place. Giving students a sense of control, I feel like that's related to the choices. Helping students find intrinsic motivation, like why are they learning English and what do they want to do with English in the future? Giving students responsibility, and so on and so on. Lots of things that we can continue thinking about. Okay, he said I had 5 minutes left. I hope that I can still take another 2 or 3 minutes here for the final part, which is just about, I want to encourage you that you can use these 6 C concepts with any activity or any lesson. Making things more fun, all you should do is ask yourself this question: how can you add more creativity, communication, collaboration, competition, critical thinking, or choices? If you just take this screenshot of this one slide, then you can get the full message of my talk today. How can you add these elements to your lesson? So to give one quick example, there was a teacher who was doing just a worksheet in class. Gap fill task for adjective plus preposition. He's not very good at singing. Did you pay for those sweets? You should apologize to her immediately. But the teacher said that she wanted this to be more communicative. She wrote out the words "good pay, apologize" on several bits of paper and put them in a bag. The students had to take them out and write true sentences about themselves. So they're being more creative, talking about their own personal life. And then they compared what they had written in order to share their self with others. How about one more quick question for you before we finish? Here's a task. This is from an English textbook. It says, choose a person you have read about or learned about in your course book. Describe the character to your classmate. Can they guess who it is? But how could we make that task more fun? Can you add any more creativity, more collaboration, more communication, more critical thinking, more choices? Do you have any ideas? Here's an idea in the chat. Thanks for the idea. Making a game, Who Am I? So maybe it's a kind of a competition. Guessing game, similar idea. Adding a drawing element to the activity. So not just describing, but also drawing. Maybe there's 3 people involved. One person is describing it to the artist, and the artist is drawing it. And the third person is guessing based on the artist. Okay, and then this next suggestion is making it more personal. Can you describe one of your classmates? So it's not just a person from a course book, but it's someone that we know. choose some pictures of the characters and ask them to describe it to a friend. So they could be working with a partner, and that would be a kind of more directly communicative one-on-one. Role play, okay, making it more of a complex task. I'd say that's more challenging. So you've got, of course, the same kinds of ideas that I was thinking. You could make it more creative by describing someone the students know. We had that in the chat already. It could be more communicative, where they have to ask a certain number of questions, not just describe, but sort of interview, and more competitive by making it a game. So the point that I'm trying to make is you can ask yourself this about any of your activities. How can you make it more of those succeed? All right, and I'm sure that I'm supposed to stop talking here. So let me just say before I end, I hope when you go to the other sessions today that you'll consider these categories when you hear from the other speakers, when they share activity ideas with you, that you'll be thinking to yourself, okay, I'm going to use this to make my class more creative, communicative, collaborative, competitive, have more critical thinking, challenge, or choice. And I'm happy to share my slides later. There's a link in my slides to Zoltan Dornier, the researcher related to motivation in language teaching. And if you want to hear more from me, you can find another presentation of mine online at the American English website, or you can connect with me on Instagram. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Spencer. So many things on your slide that I screenshot, and then I would like to maybe discuss further with the educators in Kelas Kreatif Indonesia, because I believe the points, especially the key points that you mentioned, it's very useful for us in applying or facilitating the fun activities in our classroom. Basically, we only have 4 minutes for our discussion, so I will choose some question for you to answer. The first one is from Ibu Anggiarini. Hello, Mr. Spencer. When you apply your method, games, approaches, or ice breaking, do you make preparation before, or you create spontaneously in the classroom based on the needs of the students?
Personally, I tend to prepare before. That I would say I want to have something competitive or something communicative first, and then I want to have something with more critical thinking and analysis, and then I want to have something that's individual work. So I like to think in those categories and then have the variety already planned. But there have been times when students don't respond to an activity quite the way that we anticipate that they will. So then we think, well, it's better to give them something more engaging rather than I continue with my original plan. So a little bit of flexibility is always nice.
Yep. Thank you. From Pak Tatang, how far is the importance of lesson plan to encourage the fun learning? I think it's still related with the first question.
Sure, similar answer. For me personally, I think in those categories, I want to have something engaging, something that it's an open answer. They're doing competition or free, creative thinking. And then I want to have something that's a focus where they learn something. They have to give a more specific answer, or something personal or something with a friend. So I just try to plan it in categories and make sure that my lesson has a mix of those different kinds of categories.
Okay. Thank you. Next question from Pak Heru. It's very interesting, actually. Sometimes I got difficulties to teach when I'm tired. Give me some suggestion to create teaching technique with lower energy, maybe especially at period 7 or period 8, really late in the afternoon. What do you think about that?
Well, as long as you have some activities that are already made, or if you like to do a kind of style of activity that you can recycle, like every Thursday we'll do this kind of competition, but the content is different, but the activity is the same, right? You could get one of your strong students to lead that activity, and they might really enjoy doing it. And then when you need to collect your energy again, you have your student leader running the game.
Yeah.
So I'd say routines can be helpful. For it needs less instruction and less explanation, and then having a student leader can help because sometimes they enjoy that.
Yep. Thank you. So this is actually the first question from Ibu Indah. For young learner, how to build an effective communication? Which one do we use? Mother tongue or target language or second language?
Well, there's some debate on that question. Personally, I guess it depends on how old they are. If they're under 5, I'm just giving you my opinion here, so take it with a grain of salt. If they're under 5, I would say you can mix the languages, and they're still receptive and open to getting input in multiple languages. If they're older than 5, like 5 to 10, I think they might be more receptive in their mother tongue for giving instructions or something. But it depends on your school's philosophy and approach, because a lot of schools really want their kids to practice getting instructions in English as well in the second language. And there's ways to get around it by modeling and using lots of physical instructions rather than explaining it with words. So there's a debate there.
Okay, so probably this is the last question from Ibu Erni, and I believe many of the educators here having the same issue. How to encourage students when they do not want to play game or they are not interested in the subject?
Yeah, it's quite a challenge, especially with online, right? Because some students seem less interested in participating in Zoom than when we have them in a room. My best suggestion is just the more we know them personally, the more we can help them have some personal goal or dream about how they can use English in the future, so that they can make a connection between being active in class and having a better life in the future. That, that we can encourage them to have that mindset of the more active I am, the better my life is going to be. If they have that connection, then it's not about, well, I'm doing this for the teacher, or I don't really like this activity, so I'm not doing it. But it's like we get that buy-in, you know what I mean? We get them to sort of accept the premise that the more active they are, the more it will benefit them and the better their life will be. But it takes a little bit of refocusing their perspective and knowing the students a bit.
Okay. So thank you very much, Spenser, for all of the session you lead and all of the answers you give to us. I believe many of the participants here still wondering how we can facilitate fun learning. And then one question actually asking about the presentation file, which I think you already mentioned that you will share with us later. So we are very grateful if we can have one, and then we will discuss later in our WhatsApp group. Once again, thank you very much for leading the session today and sharing your knowledge, insight about fun learning. Can Bapak Ibu give reaction to Spenser as our appreciation to him? Bapak Ibu, reaction, clapping hands, or anything?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay, so
Spenser.
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Spenser.
Thank
Okay,
you,
so
Mr.
much.
Spencer.
thank you,
Thank you,
Spencer.
Spencer.
Yeah. So
Thank you,
I will handle the
Spencer.
session to Pak Trisnendri.
Thank you, Spencer.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you very much for very informative presentation. The 6 C's are amazing. I believe that now we are trying to process how to adapt that in our classrooms. Things that I highlight is the critical thinking in fun ways. That's going to be very challenging for us as teachers. But as expected, hopefully from the 8 breakout room speakers, we're going to have another insight how to connect them with our classroom activity. So that's very interesting. Before I continue, ladies and gentlemen, Bapak Ibu, so please allow me to go to the photo sessions. So would you like to please turning on your camera and put the big smiles and the cutest and the most beautiful smiles? Right, so I see that everyone here is still off the camera. So maybe I will count to 5. All right, so and then we can take that. So let me see. And please not type any message because it will pop up and close somebody's faces. Okay, so let's get started. So I see some of friends still off, but let's just take the pictures. Taken. There will be 7 pages. So hopefully all pages is on. We'll see. So first page, there will be all speakers and some other participants. In 3, 2, 1. Good job. So let's moving on to the second speaker. I'm sorry, I mean second slides. 1, 2, 3. Good. The other part still on. Amazing. 1, 2, 3. Good. The other part. Okay, I think the page 4 until 7 is off, so that will be our photo sessions. So again, thank you very much, Spencer. That was very entertaining as well, very informative talk in this session. So hopefully further we can have another collaborations in the upcoming events. So again, thank you very much. So Bapak Ibu, now we are moving on to the breakout room sessions. Now we have 8 speakers, 8 remarkable speakers here that let me introduce one by one very quick. We have in room 1, all right? So I will introduce you based on the room. In room 1, we have Ibu Yuke Isyanti. Ibu Yuke will talk about, hi Ibu, Ibu Yuke will talk about effective and fun learning for international test. Ooh, that's very interesting. In the room 2, we have Pak Dani Prima Putra. Hello, Pak Dani. Right, if I'm not mistaken, Pak Dani from Kediri, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Pak Dani will talk about classroom project for young learners. Oh, it's challenging. Young learners always be very challenging. Room 3, we have Pak Edi Suhendra. And Bapak Edi will talk about how to build a lively speaking class. It's also very interesting. Hi, Pak Edi.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, so next we have Bunina Dwi Kurnia. She want to talk about learning or teaching vocabulary using digital tools.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Ibu. It's very relatable to these current situations, yeah? Digital tools. Room 5, we have Pak Sandi and Adri Perkasa. The topic will be about giving scores in a simple games. It's also very interesting.
Yes,
Hello,
hello.
Pak. Hello. And then next, we also have Ibu Hesti. Hello, Ibu Hesti. Yeah, Ibu Hesti gonna talk about 5 most practical ed tech as icebreaker for ELT. Icebreaker is always be very fun, yeah, for class. And then for room 7, we have Ibu Hapsari talk about using flashcard in online class. That's also very interesting. Hello, Ibu. And then for the last in the room 8, we have Ibu Irma Angela Sukma. We're going to talk about stimulating and boosting speaking skills. It's also very interesting topic to talk about. Okay, so everybody, the breakout room will be popping up on your screen or maybe in the below part of your screen. So please click that breakout rooms and then choose any rooms that you wish to absorb more. All right, so let me see. Yeah, I know that all rooms will be very interesting. I know that all of you confused which room that you want to go with, but trust me, all room will be worth it to watch. So please choose based on your needs and your interest All right, or maybe I think I'm gonna talk with Paedia. Paedia looks so much good looking on that pair. Probably there's also a reason that you can take, right? All right, that's very interesting. So we can start. Let me just check whether the breakout room is already there.
Patrice, the
Sure.
facilitator or the speaker can record. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, definitely. So facilitator, you also can record your meeting, and then later on, of course, Class Creative, you're trying to publish it, right? But then in the YouTube, is it right?
Yes.
Yes. So for today, please choose one of your most varied, because the other varied, you also can watch it in our Class Creative YouTube. So just to, as a reminder, there will be only 40 minutes for the breakout rooms. And then after the 40 minutes, the breakout room will be closed. And then everyone will come back to the main room. So I think everybody can wait any longer. So everyone, enjoy your breakout rooms sessions. And good luck for all speakers.
Hello.
See you.
Thank
See you in the main room in the 4 minutes.
Mr. Tris,
Yes.
can you help me to move me to room 7 because